What's up, folks? I am recording in the living room today, which is very risky business. Babies could wake. Children could wake up from their nap in the room next door. I might turn this down a little bit. This is my son's monitor. Just keep that up so I can see that. Yeah, it's risky business recording in the living room. I turned the air down because it's very loud. And so I made it so it can get a little bit higher. It's going to rise a little bit, which is not good because our air conditioning won't get when it's 90 degrees or 80 degrees or 100 degrees in here outside. The house just can't get regulated down to whatever we set it at, like 60 something, like 66 or 67. It can't go down. It has to just stay the same, or even when the air is going, sometimes it gets hotter even when it's trying to get lower, but it's only when it's super hot out, like almost 100 degrees outside. Anywho, I turned off the air for this recording so that it would be quiet in here. Granted, it's not like the best quality because you're hearing my daughter's rocker in the background, and because she's in the rocker. Oh, the air is going on anyways. Ooh, this might not be good. If this doesn't bother you, I might just keep it and roll with it. I'm sorry about the back noise for this podcast. It's just a lot more enjoyable to record in the living room. One day I will get my own room, my own studio type situation. That would be amazing. And then we won't have so many interruptions. But being a mom, being a wife, a housekeeper, there's endless things on a nap that you should be doing. I have 5 loads of laundry sitting next to me. I actually am trying to get her baby book completed, Eden's baby book completed. I have a paint by number, which is not a necessity. However, it's a project that I would like to get done. There's a million projects that need to get done, but lo and behold, I am recording this podcast in this waking moment. And I hope that this noise will not bother you too much. Now that I brought it to your attention, you probably cannot get over it. However, should stop at some point. So hopefully that works. Yeah. Talking about our end goal, this podcast may be a little unorganized, but let's be honest, when are my podcasts actually organized anyways? Just follow along as if we're having a little conversation. I'm just talking to you on the phone, while you're cleaning or while you're doing a project of your own or on a run or a walk, Okay. I've been thinking about this topic for some time, and I really don't know that I've actually fully hashed it out. I'm probably going to continue to think about this because I don't know what my actual goal in life to a T actually is. I don't know if I know the whole thing, and it may change over time. It may develop as I get older, because if I were to say what is my aim and my goal when I was 18, it would be completely different now that I'm a mom and I'm 35 years old. Oh, it sounds so weird to say that I'm 35, but lo and behold, I am. I'm going to take a drink of tea. I'm sorry. It's like this yummy, warm chai tea. It's like a ginger chai tea. So good. And then I sweeten it just a little bit with the vanilla syrup that we have. It's for coffee. So good. And it's not so much caffeine that I get headaches or sick or nauseous. It's just a little bit kick. Yeah. Okay, so when I think about what my aim has been when I was younger, I think it was to be financially independent, to be a stay-at-home mom, to maybe accomplish little side goals like get my master's, accomplish I wanted to run the Disney marathon. I wanted to run a few different marathons that were really interesting to me. surfing in certain places like Hawaii, maybe traveling, doing missions all over the world. These type of little like bucket list type things, you know? I think my end goal was probably, raising a family, being a stay-at-home mom, being financially independent, you know, doing different things like volunteering my time for missions, like small, short-term missions, these kinds of things. Definitely, these were my like end goals. I think as now I've developed in my relationship with the Lord, I feel like even before I was married, my end goal would have been just to know the Lord. Like that's all I need. I have accomplished everything if I know the Lord to the best of my ability. Done. Now I'm a mom of 2 kids, I'd say my end goal is really to know the Lord, and so that my kids know the Lord, their spouses know the Lord. Not just know the Lord, but have intimate fellowship. They know how to spend time with the Lord. They know how to hear the Lord's voice. They know how to read the Word and seek Him on their own, whether I'm involved or not. I talked to a friend about this earlier, like a couple weeks ago, and she mentioned, her end goal would be to homeschool her children well, to the point of not just them getting really good grades and being the top of their class, but homeschooling so that they understand where they're bent in a good way, like they're where they excel in school, and then how they can use that for their advantage in life. Growing up, I did okay in school. I had to work really, really hard, but there was no actual academic deal, like no class that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so good at math, la la la. Like, no, there was really nothing that really stood out that made me like, that would be like, oh, you need to go into economics or something because of XYZ, because of your math or whatever. But like, no. I just was good at talking to people. That was it. And relating to people skills, So that might be one of my kids where they don't have a bent. They don't have something like that. Maybe they have something like me where it's social or it's a sport, But anyways, all that to say, I don't know why I got in such a rant, but I want them to know, have a good education. If I can do that homeschooling, that would be wonderful. Maybe I'll get assistance later. I've worried about that. Like, am I smart enough to homeschool my kids? But I think there's a lot to say about online. They can do a lot of online schooling, and I can help them in that. I am not sure how well I'll do with high school homeschooling. It might have to go to online for that. And if they really want to go to high school at some point, maybe we can figure out a private school. I don't really know. We don't really know our end goal with that. But I think homeschooling my kids well, them being able to relate to the world well, in the sense of like they don't want to be in the world, but that they can be well-rounded people, that like not the typical like homeschool people that are really awkward and weird. I think most people are going to be homeschooling these days, so maybe the whole world will be weird and awkward, and then nobody will need to be weird and awkward because everybody's weird and awkward. I don't know. You know what I mean? Just not that, but you know what I mean? I'm just going on tangents, but just to do well with that they're not weird and awkward, but that they can relate well to the world as well. But okay, so to homeschool my children well, for them to go on and be amazing people in the world, to hear God's voice, to know the Word, to have an intimate relationship with Him, and to impact the world in the way that Jesus would have them. And I still don't know if that's everything for me. You know, I think a big thing is also my husband, helping him with whatever the Lord has called him to, you know. I think that's a lot of what I'm called to, is to propel him into what the Lord has called him to, and to raise our kids well, just in general, even before homeschool, and, you know, help them to be amazing people. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's other things in there. Excuse me, of course. I'm podcasting, so I need to yawn. I'm so sorry. But there may be other things that get added along the way. But as of now, I feel like those are the prime things, and I'm sure it will change. I've often thought about all the things that I want to do after raising kids. I have a million things that I would love to do. I don't really want to get into that because that's not this podcast today. But, I spent 32 years of my life without kids and being married, like, by myself. So I've only had 2.5 years of being married. Well, almost 4 years, 3.5 years being married, and 2.5 years with kids. And I still find myself, like, wanting to do all these things. Like, I want to work at an airport and travel the world. I want to, I don't know. There's a lot of things. I don't want to get into it. There's a lot of things I want to do. But those aren't my end goal. Like, those are all, like, again, like, kind of bucket listy things. Speaking of which, I really want to get my summer bucket list going. I really haven't done that. Actually, that will be next week's podcast. I'm going to write up my summer bucket list, and I'm going to share it with you. Hopefully it will inspire you to do some things. But, the things that I have that I want to do after kids is not an end goal. Like, I need to be on a movie set before I die. Like, give or take. Like, I could do that, and that would be amazing. But I don't need to do that before I die to know, like, yes, I accomplished this. This is what the Lord called me to. I did what He asked me to. No. That's just a bucket list thing that I'd like to do, So, that really doesn't matter. Those things really I don't need to accomplish those things. One thing that I've been thinking about also, that kind of coincides with this end game, like the end goal of your life, is when we get anxiety. My husband was listening to a psychologist recently, and he was talking about how when we get anxiety, oh, praise the Lord, the air went off. Ooh, so quiet in here. When we get anxiety, it's actually the Lord, it's actually us getting off of our end goal. I think a lot of times my goal in life has been safety, and I didn't know it. Like, I want my kids to be safe and to be comfortable. Safety and comfort. And that's almost like a feeling or a notion. Like, when you think about your end goal, you think about something that you've done or you've accomplished. But really, I found that before I was now thinking about these things, my end goal and my aim, so to speak. Baby is crying. I might have to hold her. Okay. We are going to probably have some baby noises in here, but that is because I'm now holding my new baby girl. She is only 5.5 weeks. So when we get anxiety, it takes us away from our so-called end goal, because now what it's the end goal in the sense of like it's taking us away from what our it's like our feeling end goal, I want to say, because I didn't know that safety and comfort were the things that I was actually seeking and wanting. Because, for example, one thing where I would find myself getting anxiety is taking my kids to the store, right? Who all has had that? Like, you take your kids to the store, and now I have 2 kids, and like, you're not comfortable when they're screaming at the top of their lungs and they are trying to get out of the cart and run away. Like, you're super uncomfortable. This is interfering with your comfort end goal. Like, you just want to be comfortable, right? And then the safety part is being breached if they're running away, like running around in the parking lot, not listening to you. Like, now their safety is at, is at a threat, whatever, is being threatened. So this is high anxiety for, say, a mom that would want comfort and safety. So something that I was thinking of, if I change my goal to be that I just need to get food for my kids and for my family instead of safety and comfort, no matter what uncomfortable things happen while I'm at the store, I'm still able to accomplish my goal, and it doesn't hinder what my goal is, because yeah, it's uncomfortable, but that's okay. I can go through uncomfortable things and it's not going to affect my goal, if that makes sense. I think for a long time my comfort goal, I guess you could say, was comfort and safety. And before I had kids and before I was married, I was so on fire, like I would die for the gospel, die for the Lord, and it didn't matter if I died on at a stake. Yeah, it would be painful and horrible and I'd be scared, but like, there's nobody else relying on me. Like, I'm not, it's just me, So once you get married, a little bit of that dies. I've talked about this before. A little bit of that goes away and you're no longer like able to take these risks. Sorry, I had to nurse her for a second, but I'm back. My mic is way up close, so I hope you could hear me for that amount of time. But then when you have kids, it's like, well, you shouldn't really die because you have people relying on you now. So you probably shouldn't die, Yeah. So these are my thoughts, but I think there is some aspect of what my comfort, like my end goal feeling, my feeling end goal needs to change. Like, I can't be only wanting comfort and safety as my end goal. I think a lot of people want to retire and live on a lake, which I totally agree. Like, I mean, I would love to retire on a lake and grow up with all my cousins and siblings on a lake and my family and everything, Heck, a lot of my family is doing this, and I would love to do that. But if the Lord doesn't call us to retire on a lake, well, then that's not what we're going to do. If we're called to retire in India or live in the Bronx or whatever, like rough area parts of town, then so be it. I mean, I was thinking about that, like right now, like we have a house given to us by a ministry, and it's a house, and I'm super thankful. Like, don't get me wrong by anything I'm about to say, but I mean, it's a house also given to us. So there's going to be stuff wrong. with it. It's not going to be luxurious or perfect. So there's a lot of adjustments you have to make in a house given to you that is not even yours. It's just from a ministry, So, and people are going to live in this house after us. So it's not like we're living here forever. We're not going to retire in this home. So you're not going to live in comfort. And I think that's something that I even need to realize right now, because there were a few things about this house that I was complaining about even in my recent days, like even probably yesterday, of like, I just want to live in a house that doesn't have this or this. And it's like, yeah, of course, but because even now my mindset needs to shift about this, like the comfort thing, like just wanting things to be comfortable. And I need to get over that, honestly. Like, it's not going to be comfortable, and I think a lot of raising kids is not comfortable, because it's not. I often will dream or look at other people's lives that get to just, like, I just wish in the winter we could just sit and watch movies, but no, I have to keep my kids busy and occupied. But at the same time, there are people that are not having kids that want to have kids, and they're not able to have kids right now, but like, they would love to be able to keep their kids entertained, in the winter. And I'm over here complaining about having to keep my kids entertained all winter, and I just want to sit and watch movies. But what is movies to Rocks and Mount? No, I'm just kidding. If you know Pride and Prejudice, if you know, you know. But what is movies to having kids of your own? I mean, the joy of having your own kids is far exceeds the comfort of being able to watch a few movies over the holidays in comfort, and the freedom that you have when you don't have kids. I mean, yes, there's times where I still long for that, but again, I didn't get married until I was much older, and I'm still adjusting. I've only been married and had kids for 2.5 years, and so I'm still adjusting to what it means to have kids and all that. And I don't know if I'll really ever fully adjust, because perhaps I will 10 years in, but by then Everest will be 10 years or 12 years, so I might be able to have more freedom by then, maybe not. Anywho, my tangent is this: when we have anxiety, perhaps we need to go back and think, what is my end goal when it comes to, like, am I just looking for comfort and safety? Or is there something more? Is my feeling end goal like the gospel? And so if your feeling and your end goal is the gospel, then you're going to come in up against difficulties, but it doesn't matter. As long as the gospels get shared and the gospels proclaimed, you've done it. You know what I mean? So of course you're going to come up against uncomfortable things. You're going to be uncomfortable when you share the gospel, and that's a given, And maybe that's where I've gone wrong, of like not constantly sharing the gospel, because I now have kids, and I'm inside or we're at the park, but that doesn't mean I can't still share the gospel with the mom next to me, whatever. But I think my goal and my mindset has been more focused on my kids, like making sure they're good. So when I'm at the park, I'm thinking, where is he? What's he doing? Is he safe? Is he playing well with the kids? Because when he's not playing well with the kids, it's disrupting the comfort, because it's making the other kids uncomfortable and the mom's uncomfortable. And then the safety, making sure he's not maiming himself or running into the street, falling off the slide, falling 10 feet, these types of things. I'm just trying to, like, make it through and make sure they don't hurt other kids and don't hurt themselves, And so I think that's where I'm at with all this, that I do need to be thinking about organizing my thoughts and my end goals. But I think it's a lot harder to do than I think. Because again, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. If your end goal is comfort, like mine obviously is. She's looking to nurse again, I think. So I might have to put the mic a little far away again for a sec. If your end goal is comfort, then yeah, it's probably going to be a little difficult because you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. And that, again, I think is really hard for people. And, you know, I'm actually really used to stepping out of my comfort zone, but at the same time, I'm not, because every time you step outside of your comfort zone, whether it's a new thing or something that you're used to, it's still uncomfortable, and your flesh doesn't want to do it every single time. Even if you are comfortable, you still might not want to do it. Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure. I think this podcast is more about to get you thinking, you know, about what is your end goal comfort and safety, or is it something else? Am I getting a call? One second. No, somebody is just liking everything on all social medias. Okay. She's getting a little discomforted. So I kind of wanted to get you thinking. Maybe I'll come up with another podcast to actually tell you how I did it, because I don't think that I'm actually in a place right now where I have overcome this. I think a lot of my end goal still is comfort, which isn't good. I'm being honest. When my son is not listening and it's making things inconvenient, again, now it's out of my comfort zone, or I just want to sit down and watch TV or sit down on my phone and he is going crazy, or I just need to nurse our new baby girl and I just want to be comfortable for a minute while I nurse her, and he's jumping on my back and jumping over us and bumping into her head and trying to get our attention and trying to drive trucks on her brand new baby head that still has a soft spot. It's just like, no, this is really uncomfortable and you're really frustrating me right now. You know, so that's not, I don't know. I don't know, because maybe it's just the attitude that comes along with it. Like, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but we're just going to go through it, and I'm not going to get frustrated about it. I'm not going to get, maybe that's all it is just changing my attitude when it comes to the discomfort that comes on a daily basis with a 2.5-year-old and a newborn. Because again, you're not sleeping with a newborn. The 2-year-old is rambunctious as heck. And if it's a boy 2-year-old, it's double the rambunctious. It's like you have 2 rambunctious kids. So, yeah, I think it's just an attitude check, perhaps. And maybe that's all that it is. Like, I know this is uncomfortable, but it's got to be done, and we've got to get through it. Like going to the grocery store. Yeah. If you have any comments, or please comment below your thoughts on this or what you're thinking. I hope this maybe starts to get you thinking and maybe helps with what your end goal is. And maybe just like, I'm thinking even now, like my end goal when I was in a ministry before this ministry, it was all about sharing the gospel, you know. And so my end goal was to share the gospel with the world and everybody around me. And it still is. I think a lot of it is just knowing the Lord. I'm in a different situation right now. I think our ultimate goal is to share the gospel. But I think a lot of it right now, the season that we're in, it has shifted to the point of just knowing the Lord. Because that's mostly all that I personally can do, is to just know the Lord well. I don't have the luxury and the options so much to go out and share the gospel with and be preaching and be traveling all over the world to share the gospel and getting into crazy places and dark places to share the gospel. It's just not my life right now. My life is the park and the house and a bike ride and the occasional store. You know what I mean? And the gospel needs to be shared in all those places. So that's my domain, and that's where I can share the gospel today, you know. So yeah, it's a little bit of comfort disheveling, but it's not a ton. Anyways, I'm rambling and I'm getting off track and I forget even what I was saying. But I hope that this helps. I hope it kind of gets you thinking about what your end goal is, your aim. And even reevaluating, even if it's just a mindset of like, yeah, I'm uncomfortable right now, but it's all right. You know what I mean? I'm going to be fine and we'll get through it. And changing your mindset to a better attitude when you're uncomfortable and when it's perhaps giving you anxiety, uncomfortable, and stress. But changing it to it's fine. We're going to be fine. My goal is this. Everything's okay. Keeping your heart level, you know. Okay. Thanks for listening. Love you all. Please subscribe and leave a comment below wherever you're listening on Spotify or Apple. And we will see you next time.